What imperfect secrets lie behind the facade of Mr. Perfect? When Eva Taylor is mercilessly mocked by her best friend Evan, how will she respond? And what outcome will her jealousy of Liam and her complex emotions lead to? Curious about the imperfect daily life of Mr. Perfect? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. 1. Mr. Perfect's imperfect day at 11. You can't look sexy even if you wear nothing to the party, chipmunk. Evan snickered. Well, isn't your honesty refreshing? I glared at him. Trust me, it isn't going to take you anywhere. Here he pushed his camera right under my nose. Do you still want to take your time choosing a stupid dress that no one is going to give a second glance at? Or are you going to satisfy your inner goddess? He smirked at me. I looked down at the picture of the mouth-watering whole chicken lying compellingly on a buffet table, and I knew how easy of a choice it was. My goddess, I yelled, grabbed the first pink frock my eyes landed on and rushed to the washroom. I could hear Evan laughing his ass off in my room. Hello, I'm Eva Taylor and that's my best friend Evan. Hold on, I know what you are thinking, Eva. Evan. Yes, fellas, welcome to my not-so-creative pack. Evan and I were born on the same day in the same hospital. Our parents bonded over us and thought it would be hilarious to constantly remind us of this day, and hence we got named in pair. The only good thing about it is that Evan hates it more than me, so I rub it in his face. Whenever he tries to impress a girl, I wrap my arm around him and smile at the girl. Oh, I see you have met Evan. Hello, I'm Eva. We were born a pair. I swear his mate will love me for this. Coming back to today's party, it's Evan's brother Liam's 16th birthday today. And since he is the future alpha of our Bluewood pack, his mate is the one everyone's been waiting for. So once he finds his mate, they can together start the training to be the next alphas of our pack, although that would take another 10 years or so because apparently Liam wants to be a doctor and his father, Alpha Blakewood, like always, approves of his intelligent and obedient son. Yeah. I guess you smelled it already. Me and Evan are both low-key jealous of him, wink, because we were neither endowed with His Highness's intelligence nor his obedience. Again, Evan is on the uglier side of the deal because he has to live with Liam, who we concluded was a British royal in his previous life. We both hop together into the party heading straight for the promised chicken, and we are not disappointed. We walk to the lawn with huge plates in our hands and get seated comfortably to watch the show. We spotted Liam and his dad talking to all the important people. They were boring to look at, so we shifted our gaze to all the 16 and above girls with boobs, who were here as Luna Probable, dressed beautifully. I looked down at myself and sighed, I wish I was 16. Why? So you could be mated to Liam? Evan snickered. Haha, very funny. I glared at him. I just want to look beautiful in a dress, I said truthfully. Evan smiled. Don't worry, you are going to be so much more beautiful than them, really. Yes, only if you stop stuffing your mouth left, right, and center, he said, stuffing his mouth some more, and if you stop hanging around me like we are brothers. Aha, I shook my head. Not happening. You know, the other day at breakfast I asked Liam what kind of a mate he wants, and he said, I quote, someone elegant, graceful and kind, someone who will serve our pack along with me. I asked if he meant a doctor, and he said he would definitely like it if she wanted to be one. Evan turned to me. I was suddenly reminded of you. Me. I widened my already wide eyes at him. Yes, his face serious, the polar opposite of you, and winked. Ouch. I glared at him. Yeah, right, we will see what Mr. Uptight ends up with. Elegant, my foot. Speaking of which, did he find his mate yet? I peeked a glance at Liam standing among his friends with a perfect poker face. I don't think he found her, or did he? With Liam you can't tell. He'll look the same every time I go over to the alphas to play with Evan. He's always there, sitting at a distance with a book shoved under his nose. I sometimes wonder if an inanimate object has ever been someone's mate. If that was possible, Liam would have been mated to a book. I didn't realize I was staring at him until his head snapped to me. I quickly pretended to look at my brother who stood next to him. I stayed that way until I felt him look away. Goddess. I sighed audibly with my hand on my heart. That was scary. What? Evan looked up from his food. Do you think future alphas can read minds? I asked. Evan rolled his eyes. We can all use the mind link, even though I shook my head. Not that. Like I was cursing your brother in my head, and he looked at me the exact same moment. Do you think he will punish me for this once he becomes alpha? Evan snorted. I don't know why you are always so afraid of him. He never did anything to you. I have never seen him smile. He's scary. I justified my fear. He does smile, Evan countered. Not that often, but that's how he is. You never saw him smile. I shook my head. Maybe he doesn't like you, he mused. Maybe it's because you are ugly. Do you think he will pick at me when he becomes the alpha? Nah. Liam has a big heart, he replied. He doesn't treat anyone bad no matter how ugly they are. I swear I'll kill you someday. The party came to an end around midnight with a gloomy-looking Liam climbing up the pack house. Oh dear. Did something imperfect happen to the perfect life of Mr. Perfect? Guess he didn't find her, Evan said thoughtfully. Yep, I purred the chicken was heaven though. Hell yeah. Too. At the doorsteps of a forever 5 years later, what if you both end up being mates? Emma, the beta's daughter, asked quietly. She is the sweetest and the shyest wolf you will ever meet. We were all camped by the lake on the eve of our 16th birthday. Me, Evan, Tyler, Justin, Sarah and Emma. We officially became a group when we all shifted around the same time 2 years ago. We decided to celebrate the last day of our carefreeness together. B-O-R-I-N-G, we shouted out together, then turned to each other and grinned. Why? Sarah argued, won't that be the most romantic thing ever? It will be like the moon goddess loves you guys the most, so she conspired to make everything fall in place for you. And you both didn't have to spend even a day without each other, she concluded with a dreamy look. Sarah is the hopeless romantic in the group. Everyone gave her the look. So what are you going to do if it happens? Justin repeated Emma. They were not stopping until they have their answer. She'll kill me, an irritated-looking Evan muttered. He has been having the wedding day mood swings for a few weeks now and it was getting on our nerves. One moment he looked like he wanted his mate to come jumping into his arms. The next moment he looked like he wants to dig a hole and hide in it until his hair turned gray just so he didn't have to be with one woman forever. Damn right, I'm going to skin him alive if he turns out to be my mate, I mock growled. Did you count the number of girls hanging by his arms in the past year? Turns out puberty did justice to my best friend. And he ended up looking pretty decent. His towering height and his sparkling green eyes naturally attracted crowd. So, Evan with a new girl every other day is a common sight. Told ya, Evan rolled his eyes leisurely. We need new people in our lives, pal. He winked at me. The ones we can discover little by little, I continued for him. The ones who don't know how clumsy we are, so we can be elegant for them, I pointed at myself. Or the ones who don't know how afraid we are of horror movies, so we can be macho for them, I pointed at Evan. End of story, Evan said hurriedly. So why is the party at Eva's home and not at yours? Justin asked Evan. We had all our birthdays celebrated at Evan's, so my father wanted this special one to be at his expenses. His daughter finally meeting her life partner. It's his dream, I repeated the lines my mother made me memorize. Evan remained silent beside me. I elbowed him and he slowly nodded his head in confirmation. Sigh. Parents, they make you lie to your friends. I will officially turn 16 tomorrow evening at 5. We told the boys that we would see them directly at the party and bid them goodbye. Emma and Sarah were staying at my place tonight. We had an early spa appointment. What can I say? I am a girl after all. I have my own first sight dreams. The probability of me finding my mate was higher than Evan's. According to the general trend, the she-wolves are a year or two younger than their mates. That's not true for everyone though. Alpha Blake is younger than Luna Alexandra. That is why Liam was so disappointed on his 16th birthday. Speaking of Liam, well, that man has some balls. Not literally, I promise. I never saw his ahem. Never, we never shifted or trained together. Yeah, so you get my point. So, Liam, as expected of him, got into med school last summer. He did come by a couple of times to keep up with his alpha training. 3 weeks back, after we finished our morning training with the pack, Evan and I moved towards his house for breakfast. We take turns at each other's homes for meals. We get the menu beforehand and grab the best of both. We were so busy pushing and kicking each other that we didn't notice what we were getting into, until we stopped at the grand entrance of their home, and opened the door wide. We froze. 2 angry faces growled at us. Oops. Did we just walk into a battlefield? Liam and Alpha Blake were facing each other with their wolves at the brink of taking over. Luna was holding on to Alpha Blake, trying to calm him down. My reflexes kicked in and I moved towards Evan. He held my hand reassuringly. Liam growled at us once more. What's wrong with him? Someone pelt him with some ice cubes, please. He needs a cold shower. I'm not a coward, I tell you. My wolf bites pretty mean. But that doesn't mean I'm not allowed to cower a little when 2 alphas are at each other's throat. Liam glared at us until his breath settled down. I think Evan was glaring back. I couldn't tell because I was too afraid of Liam to look away from him. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath and looked back at us. What's with him today? He was sparing me more glances in a day than he did in the 16 years of my existence. pointing at our intertwined hands. What are you going to do when these two don't end up being mates? He asked his dad. Whoa. What? He thought we were together. As soon as we recovered from the shock, we sprinted in the opposite directions. Even Alpha Blake was glaring at us now. I opened my mouth, but Evan beat me to it. We are not together, bro. I nodded my head obediently. Alpha Blake relaxed, but Liam didn't look convinced. Yeah, like I care what he thinks. Coward, dragging us in his fight. Be a man, fight your own battle. I wanted to shout to him. Enough, Alpha Blake yelled. You too. He pointed at us. Go have your breakfast at Mrs. Taylor's. Not looking away from Liam, who to our surprise was holding his gaze and not looking away. I had to drag Evan all the way to my home. He wanted to stay back and know what happened. Not his fault though. I would have killed for a hot gossip as this one. My ears were itching to listen, but my life was more important than a mere gossip. Moreover, it won't be long before Evan finds out what happened and I'll extract it out of him. Yeah, I know I'm not the most righteous person out there. That evening Liam packed his bags and left for his school. Evan chased after him. Well, looks like the fight didn't end well. My wolf was whining all day long. I guess she doesn't take Clash of Alphas well. I had to take her for a 2-hour-long run that day. I was joined by Evan at the end of my run. He was angry. It's not often that you see Evan angry. He is a pretty laid-back person. We sat by the lake that night, looking up at the moon silently. Our wolves love the moon. It's like being comforted by one's mother. Evan sighed deeply. He's giving up. I looked at him on his mate. He finished. I gasped. I understood perfectly without him having to tell me what he meant, but I couldn't wrap it around my head. What? I whispered, not really expecting an answer. Wolves giving up on their mates are rare. Alphas giving up on their mates are part of folktales, something that even our parents have never heard of. Alphas even go to packs beyond the ocean to find their mates. An alpha's mate is also almost always a wolf. It's been almost 5 years for Liam. His mate didn't show up. It's no longer a topic to be taken lightly. It was about the future of our pack. People look at him with pity. He has started to appear less and less to public gatherings. But that doesn't mean he can give up. Uncle Ben found his mate when he was 40. She was a human though, with 2 kids no less. Maybe Liam's mate is a human too. Why? I asked. Evan gave a mirthless laugh. He's in love. Are you kidding me? Liam's in love. In any other time and space it would have been the funniest thing ever. It wouldn't matter when he meets his mate though. I couldn't believe I was saying it, but it's true. He says he is not just a wolf, half of him is human too. The woman he chose is, according to him, the mate of his human. The most perfect thing his eyes could ever land upon. He sighed. Plus his mate may never show up. He tried staying away from her for a year. It didn't work out. So he is ready to take the chance. The following day Luna showed up. Alpha Blake was at the verge of killing whatever came his way. It was hence decided that we were going to have our birthday party at my place. Both my brothers had grand 16th birthdays, so mine was going to be no less. As I lay awake in my bed on the brink of my 16th year, I couldn't help but think back to Liam. What if I end up like Liam? What if I don't find my mate? What if I fall in love with someone who is not my mate? The human in us have always given in to their wolves. We love the one our wolves love. We protect the ones our wolves tell us to protect. Do we want things different from our wolves? Are we not the same being? 3a. The woman I never wanted to be. 6 years later. Home sweet home. I closed my eyes, spread my arms, took a deep breath, inhaling all the sweetness that I could. I missed home. And the drama queen returns. I hear a voice behind me. I grinned. And I missed my best friend. I turn around and jump at the person looking at me with a huge grin on his face. I missed you, he said. Sure you did. I punch him in his ribs. Do you even have the time to look away from Emma and do what normal people do? He grinned and shook his head. Nope. So where is she? Come to the lake after you are done with your teary family reunion. Oh. Okay, I guess they were all gathered there. Evan was right about the teary part of the family reunion. My mother wouldn't stop feeding me, like she saved up all the food she was supposed to feed me for the past 4 years. And my father, yes, my father couldn't stop weeping. He would weep when I talked, when I laughed, even when I ate. He must have thought that the cruel world starved his daughter to death. I had to threaten him. I'm going to click a picture of you crying and send it to the alpha, Dad. That stopped him. We couldn't stop laughing as he glared at us through his tears. I was on my way to the lake to meet my friends. As I walked through the jungle, I couldn't help but think how much our lives have changed. Evan and Emma were mates. Yes, that's right, Evan couldn't enjoy his singlehood for long. 2 weeks after our 16th birthday, it was Emma's big day. And when poor Evan was busy kissing his latest crush behind a tree, at Emma's party, he felt the pull. He raised his eyes only to meet those of an angry Emma's. It was hilarious. Tyler met his mate Emily when he went to visit his mother's pack one winter. She is beautiful. Sarah found out on her 16th birthday that the school hottie, Adam, who was also a human, was her mate. He was a strange creature that's coming from a strange creature herself. Sarah had to put years of hard work on him. He's still strange, but Sarah loves it that way. Me. Nope, 6 years and no such luck. I went away to finish university. I love kids. I love how they learn new things every day. From the time I can remember, I knew I wanted to be around pups. Look at their amazed faces as I teach them new things. Guess who has a certificate for her dream job now? That's right, fellas, me. Well, at least there is Justin in the group. I'll feel a little less lonely, and the look of pity that I otherwise am the sole recipient of will be shared. What is this? I asked as I get squeezed to death by Emma. A crazy carnival. They had weird lights of different shapes hanging like creepers wrapped around makeshift pillars. Barbecue set up and table full of food and beer. Welcome home, sweetie, Emma said with a big smile. We missed you. I was here 3 months ago, remember? I said, trying hard to breathe against Sarah's death grip. Yeah, but that was for a few days, Sarah reminded. This time you're here for good. I hugged Emily and Tyler together. Justin and I shared a long knowing look of I feel you. And we were done with the choke Eva to death part of the function. We talked and ate and drank for hours. Why was everyone feeding me like a pig today? God, I was totally going to look like a bloated pumpkin in tomorrow's party. Can we stop drinking now? I asked. We should save of the party mood for tomorrow. There is no party tomorrow, Evan said. It's going to be a sophisticated, gentle engagement ceremony. With all the right people doing the right thing. He made dramatic hand gestures and theater voice. Haha. Very funny. Stop mocking the future alpha, Evan. Nope, Tyler shook his head. That's exactly what he said. I raised a brow at that. We don't want the humans to be scared of our wild side, Justin finished. Seriously. I asked, what other instructions do we have to follow? And why are there humans to our alpha's mating ceremony? It's not the mating ceremony tomorrow, Emma explained. They are having a full human-like wedding next week. Maya's dream wedding. Liam wants to fulfill her dream. Ah, how romantic, I sighed dreamily. Mr. Perfect, Sarah reminded. The boys groaned. So when is the actual mating then? I asked. It will be another 3 months to that. She is 2 months in her pregnancy, Emma said. So we have a movie-like engagement party tomorrow morning, Sarah piped in, and there's the all-young blood party the day after. There are some hot humans too. She winked at me. Where's Adam again? Justin inquired. Off to work, Sarah yelled to his ears. Humans have real jobs to do, you know? What are you thinking, chipmunk? Evan asked. Nothing, I said. Tell us, Emily insisted. Should he not get over with the mating ritual as soon as possible? I voiced. Why would he risk taking another 3 months? What if he bumps into his mate in the meantime? Everyone went silent. I just ruined everyone's mood. He won't leave Maya for his mate now. Evan said she's pregnant. I know, it's the mate I'm worried about, I told him. Well, she better hide in whatever cave she's been hiding in for the past 11 years. Sarah said it'll be good for her to never bump into her soulmate. Amen, we raised a toast to that. So, tell me about her, I said to Emma. Maya. Emma smiled. You have to personally see her to believe she's real. Don't tell me. Someone elegant, graceful and kind. Someone who will serve our pack along with me. I quoted the opposite of me. Everyone other than Evan looked at me, confused. How do you know? Emily asked. Evan was holding his stomach, laughing. Yes, he grinned. Wow, really? He found her. I said, impressed. That's some goal. Clarity. I was amazed. He knew what he wanted in life at such a young age, and I still don't have an ideal type. Duh. You have to greet the alpha though, and the future alpha too. Evan said. Liam is taking over alpha's duty in a week from now, on his wedding day. I guess I'll greet them at the party tomorrow. I said. It's weird though. I haven't met Liam in ages. I hope I didn't annoy him enough to hold grudges. I won't want to be on the wrong side of the alpha. I tried to think. Nope. I'm pretty sure we both were non-existent to each other. No harm done. Ah, that's right, Sarah said. When did you last see him? I tried to remember. I don't know. The day Liam fought with Dad for Maya, Evan said quietly, before our 16th birthday. Oh, I remember. Was that the last time? That's like almost a decade ago. How did we not bump into each other? I know how he didn't come home for 3 straight years after the fight and only returned after his father agreed to his demands, stubborn ass. You were off to uni, Tyler reminded. I sat by the window of my room that night, thinking back to Emily's question, so are you seeing someone? It was a simple inquiry, one that would have ended with a one-word answer. But it wasn't a simple answer, it was a memory. A memory that, I had no idea until now, was strong enough to shake my whole being. It wasn't a mistake for me, he said. I kissed you because I wanted to. I wasn't drunk. And no, you weren't drunk either. It was a moment. I looked away, just a moment. Why are you so stubborn? Why can't you just admit that you like me? Why can't we be together? What was I supposed to tell him? That it didn't matter what I felt. That in a few years I might not even remember him, he won't even matter. Why were my emotions so strong for him if he wasn't even made for me? Morning came faster than I expected it to. You know, the feeling you get when you are invited to a wedding of people you don't really know but are forced to go to out of courtesy, just like they were forced to invite you out of courtesy. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling too. Justin and I decided to go together since neither of us had a date. The engagement was at Alpha Blake's house. It was more like a casual get-together in their lawn. The pack house where all the pack activities take place was a few yards from the mansion. We spotted the others sitting at our table. Emma had informed the planner beforehand that we were not to be separated. I greeted Luna Alexandra on my way. She hugged me and asked me to come by for breakfast tomorrow. I bet she has months of gossip stored up. I love talking to her. A strange feeling occurred to me as I sat down with my back to the center stage. It was as if something very important in my life was passing by. I only had to turn and look at it and everything would fall in place. Something inside me was begging me to look. My wolf woke up in attention, focusing on the only other heart that matched the rhythm of her heart. Mate. The realization took my breath away. My heartbeat was picking up its pace and I could feel my body warming up. I was shaking. I closed my eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. I opened my eyes slowly. He wasn't there, not in my line of vision. I relaxed, letting out the breath I didn't realize I was holding. I smiled at Sarah. She was going on about something. Should I stop her and tell them? My mind was at this point blank. I was trying to kill time. They're here, Justin whispered to me. Huh. I realized everyone was looking somewhere behind me. Oh, the engagement, Liam and Maya. I turned, scanning every face along the way, until my eyes stopped at him. Eva, are you awake, baby mom? I blinked twice. She was sitting by me, worried. I looked around. I was in the pack hospital. No, I didn't have the luxury to forget, I remember. I'm fine, Mom. How can you be fine? You fainted. Young lady, my father reprimanded me. I didn't have the energy to talk. I just need some sleep, Dad. I couldn't sleep well last night. Can I go home? I begged him. No, I have to run some tests on you, he said. I'm your doctor at this moment, not your father, so your puppy looks won't work. I want to sleep. I turned away from them. Your friends are waiting outside, Father said. I'm tired, Dad, I sighed. Please don't let anyone in. They left me alone. The moment my eyes stopped at him, my heart stopped too. I looked at him like I was looking at myself for the first time in the 22 years of my life. He looked like he was my secret to keep and I his. Mine. I felt complete. I don't remember how long the moment lasted, but it soon came crashing down on me, his identity. Liam. I could see it, the change in his eyes, the panic. I could feel my own head getting lighter by the second. The shock was so huge that my body reacted before my brain registered it. I fainted. Liam, the most perfect man I ever met, was my mate. Liam, the boy I laughed at for not finding his mate at 16, was my mate. Liam, whose mate I pitied for ever being born, was my mate. All these years I was laughing at myself. I pitied myself. I could hear music from the engagement give way to loud claps. My wolf howled inside me. A sob left my mouth. I had to get away. I opened the window of the hospital room that overlooked the forest and jumped off it. I shifted, letting my wolf shred the dress that I wore to his engagement into pieces. I let her take over. I let her mourn. Around midnight, after hours of aimlessly running around the entire forest, I could hear voices inside my head. They were looking for me. I'm fine, I informed them and immediately shifted. I don't want them in my head. I look around. This is the farthest in our land I have ever been. This was the mountain that overlooked the lake. I stop at the sound of a loud growl coming from my left. I wasn't alone. I turned to look at the source but was instead hit with a bunch of clothes right at my face. I was naked. But this time it was my turn to growl as the scent from the clothes hit me. "Liam," I whispered. His back was facing me. I could hear him take a deep breath. He pointed at the clothes in my hand. I obliged. I wanted to tell him that I was clothed, but my tongue was tied just like my legs. I wanted to listen to him, despite my senses telling me to run away. I wanted to look at him today, the closest he will ever be. My wolf purred inside me. I looked up at him as he turned to look at me. He was beautiful. Not that I hadn't noticed it all these years, but now my eyes were looking at his perfectly sculpted face with different emotions. The moonlight reflected in his green eyes was the most soothing view ever. My wolf wanted to lie down at his feet in submission. Was that the power of the alpha? He stopped a few inches away from me. What was he doing? Sitting down on his knees, he looked up at me. His eyes were filled with emotions. A fire began to burn my heart as my face heated up in realization. Pity. My mate pitied me. "I'm sorry," those were the first words my mate spoke to me. 3B. The first time they met Eva. "I'm sorry," those were the first words my mate spoke to me. He opened his mouth to continue but stopped midway. He gripped his hair in frustration. All I could do is stand there like a stone and look down in daze as moonlight sparkled on him, soft locks kissing his neck, the helplessness in his dangerously beautiful eyes, the perfect shadow that his nose made, and the way his lips moved, trying to form words. "I'm sorry again." Is this what my friends feel when they look at their mates? Is this what they are going to feel for the rest of their lives? I'm sorry, and again. This is what I'll be longing for. Knowing what it feels like to be complete. How am I supposed to live the rest of my life incomplete? He now looked resolved to talk. I have practiced this conversation so many times over in my head. He sighed. "I still don't know what to say. I'm sorry." His sorry was bleeding my ears. I could feel the treacherous tears making their way out of my eyes. I didn't want to show him my emotions. My face remained stoic. His eyes fired up at my tears. I could feel him holding on to the last thread of sanity. He couldn't look away from my tears. He looked visibly in pain. That gave me a strange pleasure mixed sorrow. My wolf was howling inside me, but I was pleased to see that I wasn't the only one suffering the moon goddess's joke. It was ironic that I realized at that moment that Liam was right. All those years ago, the wolf and the human do want different things. I love her. I closed my eyes, and she's pregnant. I know how much you are saddened by the idea of me being your mate. You fainted. He looked sad, and rightly so. You deserve to have a future and a mate who loves you. I'm sorry that you ended up with such a cruel fate. He looked at me, pleading, "Say something." I bowed deep to the alpha in him and turned around to leave when he grabbed my hand and stood up. I said, "Say something, for God's sake," he yelled. I turned back to look at his hand holding mine. A cold current waved through my body and ended up as a tingle in my toes. I curled my toes to suppress a moan. He let go off my hand. I looked into his eyes. "My wolf," I said with no emotion. "She wishes to meet him once. Just once." My voice was merely a messenger of my wolf. He looked shocked. That was not what he expected. Did he expect me to beg for his acceptance? His wolf let out a growl. He nodded, not taking his eyes off me. He moved back before shifting right in front of me. He was glorious. Clearly the biggest wolf I have ever seen. Although I've seen him before, looking at him now brought a different kind of pleasure. I wanted to touch his matted golden fur, nuzzle my nose deep inside the fur of his neck, and stay in his arms for the rest of the night. His dark eye glowed, taking in my desire. He felt it. He was walking towards me with eager strides. That brought me out of my trance. It was his wolf who was in control. He perhaps wouldn't like me touching him, and I didn't want to give him the pleasure of knowing that I wanted him to. I'll let him believe that it was all my wolf's calling. I took a step back. His wolf growled, not liking me stepping back. I took few more steps away and quickly let my wolf take over. Oops. I ruined the clothes he gave me. He walked over to her as she waited in anticipation, her grayish-white fur standing up in attention. He nuzzled his nose in the fur of her neck, and she did the same. Shivers of pleasure washed over her, sending a fresh wind of calmness my way. My soul tickled in joy. I let it sink in. They both looked up at the moon and howled together. Sadness washed over me. I knew I had to take her away and never let her meet him again. A low growl erupted from her, only to be overshadowed by his loud growl. Liam was having a fight with his wolf. They were both alphas trying to control each other. I forced her to move away from him. She retreated slowly. never leaving his gaze. He stood on the top of the mountain howling, unable to move, being held back by Liam. They looked at each other longingly as Liam forced his wolf to turn and run in the opposite direction, into the darkness. My heart broke at my wolf's sorrow. I can give away my life if it means taking away her sorrow. How was Liam doing it? How could he bear the sorrow of his wild? Was his wolf's happiness not important to him? Or was it just that her happiness was just a little bit more important to him? Did he love her so much that he could tolerate hurting himself every day just to keep her close? My wolf whimpered. She asked me if there was a way to get her mate back. No, there isn't, she's with a pup, I told her. She went silent at that, her heart breaking in sorrow at the thought of her mate having a pup with another. We lay in the cold grass under the moonlight. I woke her up as dawn hit the horizon. We made our way back home, to a world that is the same as yesterday, yet everything in that world was new for us now. Her pain was greater than mine. I'll have to share her pain. I'll have to give her a reason to live again. And that wasn't going to be easy, but I'm sure she won't make it harder for me either. That was the best thing about us, we hated each other, fought with each other and argued about unimportant things, but we both respected each other's limits. I protect her pride and she does the same for me. I think the certainty of the fact that there was no way I could ever claim my mate in this world made my decisions easier. Or was it just that I wasn't letting my mind sit back and think? I didn't visit Luna that morning. I knew that woman would be there. We somehow missed her at the party and we wanted to keep it that way. I and my wolf didn't want to put a face to her. It will only make us suffer more. I waited until afternoon to meet Alpha Blake at his office in the pack house. I was avoiding everyone like plague since morning. I was coming across as rude, but I didn't care. I knocked nervously at his door. Eva, he greeted me with a wide smile. I see you are back for good. I gave him an awkward smile and greeted him. I felt him, my mate, he had followed me. Did he think I would rat him out? That makes me realize how little we knew about each other. Liam, why don't you quit standing at the door and come in? Alpha Blake called him. My heart jumped as the door opened. I didn't want him here, not at this moment, not with what I was planning to do. Liam took a seat next to his father. I refused to look at him. So, Eva, when are you going to start your job? Alpha Blake asked. I scratched my neck at the awkward situation I was going to jump into. I better jump straight at it. I took a deep breath about that. I came with a request, Alpha request. And what's that? I wish to be granted leave from the pack for an indefinite period. I heard a sharp intake of breath. Do you wish to leave the pack? The Alpha's voice raised a notch. No, I said quickly, I don't wish to be a rogue. Pleading, it was so much harder than I thought. Why was he here to add to my misery? Tears pricked the back of my eyes. I hold them back. His chair shifted. Where are you going? The Alpha asked him. I'm sure she wishes to see you in private, Alpha, he said. Sit down, you are going to take over in a week. The Alpha said you need to be a part of this decision. He looked at me. Eva, why don't you explain it in a way I understand? I prepare myself for whatever was coming my way. My life was ruined anyway. What more could happen to me? I decided to get over with it in a breath. I was in the woods last night and I felt my mate. He must have been a human. His scent was weak. I tried to look around but he was gone. I wished to go out there and hunt him down. I don't know how long it will take for me to find him. I finished. I hear a laughter coming from Alpha Blake. I look at him confused. My heart was already at freezing point with the constant reminder that my mate was sitting right there and was doing nothing to stop me. That is why I have always liked you, girl. Alpha said, look at you chasing after your mate with such a high spirit. Was he mocking someone? Other than the fact that everyone around me will be sad to see you go, I have no objections. We will keep you in our records as long as you wish to remain a part of this pack. I was about to thank him. What do you think, Liam? Oh no, Liam, are you all right? My head turned to him in concern and I was hit with the intensity of his gaze. What was he doing? Did he wish to be found out? Yes, he said finally. I agree with you, Dad. His eyes strained on me. I closed my eyes and looked away. I was prepared for this, but it still hurt. All right, I will send you the permission note by evening, Alpha said. I asked Alpha to keep it a secret until I was ready to talk about it with my family and friends. He reluctantly agreed. I bowed to him and without sparing another glance at Liam, sprinted out of the door as fast as I could. I let the pent-up tears make their way out once I was out of his earshot. I spent the rest of the day packing and writing goodbye notes to everyone and promised to call back as soon as I was done with my me time. I placed the letters on my study table. I only had to wait for the permission agreement and I was set to depart. I had a plan. The plan was to get as far away from my mate as possible and give myself the freedom to mourn. I was mechanically doing things right now, but I knew that the actual effect of the loss was yet to come. I didn't want to tell my people and make divisions in the pack. I would have done it if there was even a little hope for me, but there wasn't. The only thing my people could give me was their shoulder to cry on. 4. I'll take your beautiful farewell with me. I'm not going to the party. I told them for the nth time. I was in the hospital yesterday, remember? What's with everyone's health these days? Tyler murmured. Who else is sick? I asked. Maya. Emma said. My breath hitched. She has been having a difficult pregnancy. Humans are physically weaker than us, so it's hard for them to carry a pup. So the hosts would be absent from today's party. Sarah said yesterday's event exhausted her and made her sick, and Liam is busy nursing her. My wolf yelped. Let's go to the party, I yelled. I need a drink. Evan pulled me to a corner. Are you all right? Where did you disappear yesterday? What's going on? Is there something you're not telling us? Stop. I raised my hand. I'm all right. Are you sure? Yes, okay. He turned to leave. And Evan, he looked back. I love you. He gave me a you have lost it look. I grinned. What's going on? Emma asked. She ran her hand all over my face, worried. I pushed her hand away. Leave me alone, I whined. She was adding to my misery. You're drunk, Eva. Sarah said. No shit, Sherlock, I giggled. Pushing Emma further away from me, I started to try and unhook my dress. Damn, where's the stupid hook? My hands were suddenly pinned on either side of the sofa. Leave me alone, I yelled. Maybe they can't hear me because of the loud music. Hot. 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 I blasted again. They won't still let me go. Someone tie my hair, please. It's hot in here. I don't think it's just alcohol, someone said. Is that my Evan? Come here, let me hug you. Here. Here. Where is he? Hold on a second, Eva, that sure was Emma. You'll be fine, I promise. Did someone add something in her drink? Sarah piped in. That woman has crazy imagination. Shut up. I'm hot, do something about it, fellas. I think she's in heat. I can smell her. Was it Tyler this time? Whoa. Am I a museum piece? Why are there so many eyes on me? Should I dance for them? Well, that could make me feel better, I guess. I was about to push whoever was holding my spirits down when I felt like I was suddenly flying in the open sky. Yay. Evan, what are you doing, Emma? I guess there was no relief from the mother hen even in the free sky. Sigh. I do not like the number of eyes on her. Whoa. Someone just spoke from under me. It's Evan, my twin. My wings heat or not, she's not staying here. Let's take her home, someone said. You are not following us, Justin. Evan yelled louder than the music. You're not mated. Why? Why? I like Justin. Let's take him, please. Key what? What key? I don't have a key. I'm the lock, remember? Hee. In her pocket. Someone's touching me again. Do I like it? Give me a moment to think about it. What the hell is going on? Shower. Why am I under the shower? It's strangely comforting though. Are you awake, love? Emma asked. Yeah, what happened? I am trying hard to open my eyes. I slapped my head a couple of times to make sense of things. We think you're in heat, Sarah said from somewhere, so Evan brought you home. The boys went back. They're not allowed here today. Heat. I couldn't think straight. Goddess, what did I drink? But it's not the season yet. I managed to cohere a sentence. I could feel my wolf jumping up and down. Not now, I told myself. She was my worst enemy at this moment. I pushed myself further into the shower. We don't understand that either, Emma murmured. It's just you. We are all fine. I couldn't point out the exact moment reality hit me, but it was there before I realized it. I knew why I was in heat and, more importantly, for whom. I shut my eyes tight. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. I repeated. No tears. No tears. Guys, can you leave me alone? I managed to say, but there's not one in your house, Sarah protested. What if something happens? Emma added. Please, I begged. I can handle this, guys. I don't want to ruin it for everyone. No, lock the door. Only my family members have the key. After another 15 minutes of Emma's lecture, I finally shut the door downstairs on her face. I could hear her tugging at the lock to double check. I turned away from the door and started pulling off my clothes one by one. I rushed upstairs into my room, then straight under the running shower. The heat dampened a little under the cold water, but my thoughts were constantly pulling me towards the one face that I wanted to forget. It was a cyclic process that didn't let my heat cool down. I was out of tears. I needed to stop thinking. That was the only way out. I was in the shower for over an hour now. I grabbed a towel for my hair and put on the softest white bathrobe. Walking up to my drawer, I pulled out a couple of sleeping pills and gulped them down. Stop thinking. Stop thinking. Stop thinking. I wipe away the fresh set of warm tears. I needed more than this. I needed a drink. I could sense someone as I climbed down the stairs. Mom, are you home? I thought you guys were staying at the pack house today, I inquired. Stranger, it was a stranger, a human. He turned away from the open refrigerator to look at me. I stared back. Whether it was the drinks that I had at the party or the pills, I couldn't tell, but fear was definitely not the emotion I felt. I was told that the house was empty. The stranger smiled awkwardly. Did I disturb you? A polite intruder. Who are you? He scratched his head high. I'm Mark. He fumbled with 2 large boxes in his hand. I rolled my eyes. And why are you here, Mark? We ran out of alcohol. Your brother. Now he was questioning himself. Yes, your brother. He was too stoned to move, so he gave me the key. He said he had a stock. Yeah, I got that one. Typical Zach. I was a few feet away from him by then. My wolf was pulling me away from him, filling my head images of my mate. That made me mad. I wanted to hate her, punish her for being so stupid and naive. I have been following her blindly for almost a decade. And what did I get in return? A life full of misery and loneliness to look forward to. I was actually looking for a drink too, I said. Was that my husky voice? Blame it on the heat, not me. Do you mind if I steal some away from you? No. I mean. Sure, please. His cheeks colored. He was cute. See what I mean? I was missing out so much fun. Stop thinking. Stop thinking. I repeated the mantra. I quickly pulled out a couple of bottles from one of the boxes, sat down on the floor of the hall, and gulped down half a can before looking up at him. He had his eyebrows raised. What? I questioned. Sit down, patting the place next to me. He smiled and sat down. So you are a human? I think so. He laughed. I was one the last time I checked. I nodded my head, gulping some more alcohol down. Why are you here then? My human buddies are getting married in a week, he answered like he would answer at an interview. So I, like a good human being, am here to support my friends. Ah, the human wedding, I remembered. Human. That made me giggle. Are you crying? What? No, I was laughing. Couldn't he see? I touched my face. Sure enough, they were wet. Eye infection, I said. He nodded. Are you a doctor too? Yes. Are you Mr. Uptight too? He was laughing at me. No, he grinned. Is Liam Mr. Uptight? Yes, I said without thinking. Do you hate him? He was inches away from me now. My wolf was going crazy. Was she pulling me away or pushing me towards him? I'm not allowed to hate him, I whispered. Whose permission do you need to hate him? Nature's, I murmured. He groaned. You're drunk. Yes, you're beautiful. Yes. The next second, his lips were on me. I knew what I wanted. I had a plan which I don't remember forming, but I was confident. This was the first clinical trial of that plan. I pulled him into me and kissed him back. My wolf calmed down as I slowly let my mind form an image of a familiar yet distant pair of green eyes. I was thinking of a man who had a ring around his finger. Was I supposed to feel guilty? He owed me this much. I needed this to survive, and I was weak enough to admit that this wasn't going to be the last time I was using him. I could feel the guilt creeping up as he placed me down on my bed and stood up to take his shirt off. I was losing my nerves. I won't be able to do it. I closed my eyes as he closed the distance. One moment I could feel him breathing down my face, and the next he was gone. I opened my eyes to a loud growl. A scary-looking Liam was towering over me, his eyes darkening by each second. Oh dear goddess, was he going to shift in front of a human? I could see Mark standing up from the corner where he was, I presume, dumped by Liam. I looked back at Liam. What are you doing here? I asked stupidly. He was moving towards me. I quickly brought up a pillow to my face. Don't kill me, please. I felt a heavy duvet over me. I peeked from behind my pillow. Oh, I was underdressed. He sure loves throwing clothes at people. Liam, man, what was that? Oh, I almost forgot Mark. Liam growled. Leave. He was gritting his teeth. You could visibly see his effort to control his animal. My wolf let out a happy howl inside me. She sure senses her mate getting excited. Why? I like Mark. He was asking for logic even at the brink of his doom. Liam turned to glare at him. Mark gasped. I'm sure he saw the change. He must have never seen this side of Liam. Leave, he growled again, and oh, it was me this time. I think it was the frustration of my body not cooperating with me. It made me act stupid. I threw away the duvet. I'm burning. You are the one who should leave. The next second, I was pushed hard against the headboard with my mate's fingers around my neck. "How dare you," he yelled. His wolf was almost there and it scared me to death. I couldn't utter one word of protest. His glare made me feel guilty. I lowered my gaze in shame. "What's wrong with you, Liam?" Mark tried to pry Liam's grip off me. I shook my head at Mark, indicating at him to stay away. I looked at Liam. "You're hurting me," I choked. He gave me a final look of hatred and let go. "I think you should leave," I told Mark. I could see Liam shaking with anger and fighting for control. "But what's going on?" Mark asked, confused. I took a deep breath. I sure was doing a lot of explanation on his behalf today. "Liam is my friend's brother. He is protective of me like a little sister," I gritted out. Liam let out a strange laugh. I ignored him. Mark shook his head. "I understand." He turned to leave. "I'll see you around, I guess." Liam took a step in his direction. I held him back. Man, he was powerful. "Thank you," I said, "and Mark, please keep this." I pointed at me and him between us. "My brothers won't really appreciate it. I can't guarantee the safety of your neck." He grinned. "I like you." I forced a smile, holding on to Liam for my dear life. Mark gave one confused glance at Liam and left. I let go off Liam and took a deep breath. "You sure are fast," I heard him say, his voice laced with anger and hatred. "You shouldn't be here," I said. "He needs to leave." My body was reacting to him and I knew I would soon lose control over it. "Why? Did I disturb your pleasure time?" He spit it out. "Is this what you've been doing all these years?" He let out a laugh. I was feeling guilty for nothing. I remained silent. He wasn't in his senses. I'm sure my heat was affecting him too. He bent down, held my jaw in a tight grip and forced me to look up. "Look at me when I talk to you," he barked. "You had no problem talking to your lover. Why don't you use some of your charm on me too?" He looked like a maniac. I have never seen anyone look like this ever. "Am I not worth your efforts?" His eyes were glowing dangerously in the moonlight coming from the open window. So this is what a possessive Liam looked like. My wolf purred. My body heated up. I realized his madness was turning me on. "Oh dear goddess," I moaned. I picked up the last shred of self-control and said, "I'm in heat. You shouldn't be here." I looked up at him. His eyes darkened. He was closer than I anticipated. I felt his breath on my lips, warming them up before he took them in his own. I felt my animal growl in pleasure. I saw my eyes darken, mirrored in his equally dark one. I lost my senses as he pushed me down and climbed on me. My human was no longer in control. The first morning rays hit my face. I moaned and turned away. My hand automatically went to the empty side of my bed. It was strangely warm, like someone just left. I jerked open my eyes and sat up. My heartbeat raced. I closed my eyes in pleasure. He was here. He was the one who put off my heat. I cupped my face with my hands. My face was burning. I let the pleasure sink in before I looked at his side of the bed. I ran my hand over the warm sheet. He was sleeping here. I rolled over and buried my face in his pillow. I let my tears fall free, seeking comfort in his scent. There was a paper under his pillow. It was the permission letter from Alpha Blake. So he was here to give me the letter. He was here to see me off. He wanted to personally make sure that I was no longer a thorn to his perfect life. I smiled. At least there was no "I'm sorry" note attached to it. He wasn't leaving me with his pity. That was my cue to leave. I picked up my backpack and put the permission letter in along with my certificates. With one last glance at my room, I climbed off the window and ran without a backward glance, and only stopped once I was out of the pack's territory. I wasn't expecting much from my new life. I'll be fine as long as it didn't remind me of the world I left behind. 5. Can we take her home? Liam's POV. I can count on my fingers the number of times we interacted over the 2 decades that we have known each other. But it's engraved in my head the first time I saw her. Dad took me to see my little brother. I wasn't as thrilled as the rest of my family at the new addition. Don't blame me, I was a 5-year-old craving his mother's attention, and I hadn't seen my mother in 3 days. She was apparently busy bringing my brother home. I rushed to my mother as soon as I saw her. She was sitting on her white hospital bed chatting away with a woman who was also seated on a similar bed in the other side of the large room. "Aren't you excited to see your brother, Liam?" my mother asked. "Sure, let's see what the fuss all about." There she pointed at the 2 cradles in the center of the room. I walked over to the first cradle and peeked in. There was a little baby like the one I had seen Jane play with, only it moved. It glared at me. I guess our dislike for each other was mutual, just like our green eyes. But it sure was fun, our glaring match that was until I hear a giggle. I turned towards the noise. There was another baby lying in the other cradle. It let out another giggle as soon as my eyes landed on it. I watched in awe as it gave me a toothless smile, cheeks digging deep on either side, its pitch-black eyes shining with mirth. I stood rooted, unable to look away. That was the most beautiful thing ever. I walked towards him and stood by him. Slowly, I took my index finger and poked him in the dip of his cheek. He giggled and wrapped his little fingers around my index. I quickly withdrew my finger in shock. "I like him, Mommy," I declared, not taking my eyes off him as he now turned his attention to the green-eyed baby. Well, another reason for me to dislike the green baby. I heard laughter coming from all direction. They were all laughing, Mom, Dad, the other woman and the doctor. "That's not a he, son. That's a she," the doctor said, laughing. I knotted my brows in confusion. "That's not your brother, Liam," my mother said as she pointed at the first baby. "That's your brother, Evan. And that is Eva. Isn't she beautiful?" I looked back at the babies. It's not that I didn't like the boy. He was okay, I guess. But I couldn't hide my disappointment that she wasn't my brother. I looked at Evan and he nodded in understanding, indicating that he had no hard feelings at my obvious preference. Yeah, I could grow to like him. I couldn't stop looking at her the whole afternoon as her family surrounded her. Turns out my friends Zach and Nick were her brothers and the doctor was her father. I looked at Mommy playing with Evan. "Can't we have her too?" "Mommy," I whispered only for my mother's ears. She smiled. "We can, if the moon goddess decides that you are good enough," she whispered back. I nodded understanding. "So what do I have to do?" I remember my mother listing out all that I had to do to impress the moon goddess, and I did follow them religiously for months. As the years went by, I saw more and more of her in and around my home, and people playing with my brother, cooking with my mother, and making my father laugh. I noticed the fact that I was the only one out of her loop for the first time when I was 15. I was never a social animal. I had to put extra effort to have simple conversations. This was the worst trait to have in an alpha. How would I take care of my pack if I wasn't even capable of understanding their problems? I was sitting in our lawn reading a book. Evan and Eva were playing around. Did I mention how unbearably loud she is? "Mr. Smith! Mr. Smith!" she yelled. I looked up, irritated. She was running towards an unknown man with her pigtails swinging on either side of her head, yelling his name. The man, to my surprise, spread his arms and picked her up only to give her a piggyback ride. Who gives a 10-year-old piggy rides? I called Evan to inquire about the strange man. "They are the new Omegas. They just shifted here from Australia." "And how does she know him?" She was having animated discussion with the man, and he was laughing as he replied. "She knows everyone." Evan laughed. "She has trouble digesting her food, unless she asks everyone she meets how their day went by." "Don't mind her," he said dismissively. "She doesn't do that to me though." I murmured, "What?" "Nothing." I shook my head, but I could not mind her. I couldn't stop thinking about that little basket of firecrackers that night. I should have been like her, talking to my people, knowing how their days went by. A thought had occurred to me that night. When I turned 16 in a few months, I wanted someone like her as my mate. I wanted my mate to be as caring and lively as her. Someone who could brighten up my day with a smile. I realized how pathetic and lonely I was. I was jealous of my 10-year-old brother. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoy our story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the little bell for the latest updates.